Welcome to subramani.com. It's a pleasure talking to you time and again on the video, and now I'm liking the fact that a lot of you are giving feedback. I wish it was more. Somebody has asked me for index investing. Somebody has asked why should we have two credit cards, which I've already clarified in my credit card podcast or webcast. Please also understand that my vlogs will be more on the wealth side than on how to reduce costs and things like that. I believe wealth can be created and wealth has to be created and grown. That's the way to get wealthy. Of course, you can cut costs, but cutting costs has a limitation. If your monthly costs are 50,000 rupees, you can cut costs. How much can you cut? You can cut 50,000 rupees, right? You can't cut below that. Whereas wealth creation is far more positive in its thinking and it has no upside. I mean, it has lots of upside, it has no downside, right? So the more you learn about wealth creation, the more you will understand that controlling your expenses is a great way of starting to build wealth. But once having built wealth, expenses are immaterial because your income has gone so much higher. If you are living on 2% or 3% of your income, life can't be tough, right? So let us break some investing myths. I've written a lot about this on my blog. I encourage you to please visit my blog, which is www.subramani.com. If you've come from there, you obviously know that I run a blog like that. But if you've come to the video directly through some other way, you may not know. So it's for those people. So I've written a lot about these things. So let's break some investment myths. The first myth, which behavioral finance has thoroughly squashed, is to say that man is a rational investor. Man is not a rational investor. Man, if anything, is a rationalizing investor. After he makes an investment in something and he loses money, he will have 100 reasons why it was right when he made that choice and why he was waiting for that company to take off. How long? 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. Who do you think you are? Investment banker or a lender or a lending institution? You don't have the luxury of waiting that long. You have to take your calls very quickly. 3 years is maximum that you can wait. Otherwise, you get and accept that something is wrong and I need to get out. Man is not a rational animal even while investing. He does not invest because he needs to invest. He invests because HR has called him and said, if you do not invest, we will cut your tax. Or he has invested because a friend has a target to meet. He went into banking, he has a ULIP target to meet, so he calls you up and says, boss, I have a target to meet, a policy le lo. Therefore he invests. Or his wife has told him that you are not investing for your old age, so he went and took a 10,000 rupee per annum pension plan. Believe me, these things don't help. You have to sit, think, focus and then invest. So man is definitely not a rational animal. Very few of them are rational and most of them are not. The other reasons why people invest, oh, my sister-in-law has become an agent with this life insurance company, Subra, I have to buy something. Is this an investment? Is it a gift? Check it out, right? So these are not reasons enough for you to invest, but these are the reasons for which people invest. The second myth, or what I call the second myth, is people are sick and tired of their underperforming ULIPs, right? Wrong. People have no clue how much returns they are getting on their investments. They have invested something and they look at their return once in a while. Now, if you look at your returns now, after a 10-12 year SIP basis investment or some regular investing, even if not SIP based, your returns in equity would be 2.75%. So if you were to do your appraisal today, logically you would go and sell out, right? That is exactly what you should not be doing. You have to realize that equity returns will always be lumpy. So 6 months later or 1 year later, when you look, your return may be 12.75% instead of 2.75. Just as how market can be down and make your 5-year, 7-year investment or 12-year investment painfully done, look so bad during bad times, it can make it look very good during good times. So please remember, do your appraisal on the 15th of December every year or 15th of February every year, immaterial of how the market is doing, and plot your returns on a graph and see how it is. Largely, it will be moving north over long periods of time. There could be short term fluctuations, but in the long run, it will be moving north. Second, make ratios and see whether those ratios look good, because the ratios take much longer time to change. So, right, so make those ratios and see whether those ratios change, and how is the gut feeling at the bottom of your stomach. Maintain an investment diary and then write it down, so that 2 years later, 3 years later, you will actually learn from the COVID experience. So, most important, yes, we have had bad times, you have made a loss, but please learn from that loss that we have all made. All our portfolios will look bad during bad times. There is nobody can escape the bloodbath. My investments in China look bad, my investments in Europe look bad, my investments in US looks good, I think, because the dollar is rising. So my investment ex US, everything is looking bad, everything is looking pathetic. And some small cap funds, I'm hugely in the green, because this was started very, very long back, right? So it is N which is important. The client wishes, how many of you think that the client wants unbiased advice? Mostly clients can't make a difference between biased advice and unbiased advice. They don't know. For example, bloggers could take money and promote a product, right? Some of us won't do it, but some of us are capable of doing it. So you could be hurt because of something like that. Don't assume that because you go to an RIA who charges you fees and does not take commission from the client, from the originating company, which means not from the mutual fund or from the insurance company, he's giving you unbiased advice. No, even he finds it difficult to give you unbiased advice, because there are just too many products and there are limitations to his own research. But to that extent, yes. But remember, as long as he charges you a fee based on your assets under management, there is no way how he will say remove money from a debt fund and repay a housing loan. Very unlikely that he will say that, because you're paying him on gross assets, not on net assets. The day we start paying fees on percentage of net worth, things could change. But right now, there is bias there also. And very unlikely that a planner looks at you and says, well, you're well planned, you have an index fund, you have a term insurance. Very unlikely that he will say that. So he also needs to have some product sale to increase your net worth or whatever be the cost, because he's charging a fee on that. But if you find a planner who is charging you based only on time spent with him, on hours spent with him, then the question is, will his business grow enough, or will he at some stage say, I'm not making enough money, because the money made in that is so low that it is not enough for a person to make a career, support a family, etc., etc. It has to be an extremely satisfied man who is perhaps retired, who will be willing to do that, and not a person who wants to grow his business. Now there is worry that he would be biased, and he could be a long-term PSU employee who will say, oh, only PSUs can deliver value, or some kind of very hard stuck person. So you got to be worried about those things. The client will benefit by dealing with qualified people. I have my doubts there, right? Extremely well qualified professionals are doctors, and to think doctors are not influenced by pharma companies is wrong. So similarly, educated people are also influenced by the industry. The industry does everything possible to influence everybody. So I often get calls saying what I should be writing on my blog. I'm trying to resist the temptation, and I've resisted it for 10 years, so I don't think it's too much of an issue now. But blogs have plans. Which is the best mutual fund to invest? Which is the best place to open a broking account? Why I think this broking account is the best? why I think you will save a lot of money by going to this broking house. There is no way how you know how much of this is planted and how much of this is not planted, right? How I made money trading in the foreign exchange, right? You see these ads. These ads are also converted into articles. So be careful about what you're reading, be careful about what you're thinking, and be careful about how you're acting. If a lot of qualified people take to financial advisory, the market will improve rather than having so many distributors. Completely wrong. Mostly people are forced into distribution because they don't get jobs elsewhere in the BFSI space, because the lowest end distributor makes very little money. It takes a very long time, perhaps 15-20 years, for the trail to kick in, and those people who started their business maybe in 1999 or 2000, where the rules were more cowboyish, life was different. But today, the person who starts and who does an honest job just will not earn enough to be a worthwhile distributor. It is just not worthwhile for him to be a distributor. So distribution advisory does not attract the best talent, except if it is children of people who are already doing it, or parents who want to push them into it, or like them to be in there and they are willing to lend a supporting hand. Then yes, they will make some reasonable money. But remember, a lower middle class boy starting this, or a lower middle class girl starting this, is extremely hard work. He's going to make money over very long periods of time. So I don't think there is any great rush to many people becoming advisors. Another myth, I remember when we used to do audits, we always believed that salary audit need not be done because people will protest if the salary paid is wrong. I don't think it was very true then, and I don't think it is true to assume that people in their own self-interest will look after their personal finance. They don't. They are just hoping that something will turn out to be right, rather than wondering. I'm amazed that people can buy ULIPs from the same banker. Over an 8 year period, they would have bought 3 or 4 policies. Then they would still bought a policy for the children. They have absolutely no clue about the IRR. They have no worry at all that the claim will not be paid. I've done posts on how insurance companies don't pay claims. It still does not do any thing to the bank RM from selling another policy to the same family. Be careful. You are your own boss. You have to pay attention to your personal finance. You have no choice. If you think somebody else is going to do a better job than you do, you are mistaken. Thank you.